You're sitting in front of your most important task of the day, a report, a creative project, a complex problem that demands your full attention. You know what you need to do. You prepare, take a deep breath, and command your mind. Focus now. And for 10, maybe 15 minutes, it works. Your fingers move, the ideas start to flow. You're in the zone. But then, subtly, something shifts. The flow turns into a trickle. The words don't come. The solution to the problem seems to hide behind an impenetrable fog. Your mind starts to wander. You think about what you'll have for dinner. You remember a conversation from yesterday. A random melody pops out of nowhere. And with every detour, a wave of guilt washes over you. Focus, you scold yourself. Stop procrastinating. Get back to work. You force yourself to continue, fighting against the distraction, trying to squeeze out more productivity through sheer willpower. But it's like trying to hold water in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the more it slips away. In the end, you're exhausted, frustrated, and not much closer to your goal. You feel broken, lazy, undisciplined. What if I told you that your struggle isn't the problem? What if I told you that you're struggling is the problem? What if our entire productivity culture, obsessed with hyper-focus and unwavering concentration, has been teaching us to use only half of our brain? And what if that wandering mind, the one you fight so hard to suppress, isn't your enemy, but rather your most powerful ally? Wait if I told you that the human brain was not designed to operate in a single constant mode of focus. It has two distinct operating systems, two mental gears, and true genius, creativity, and complex problem solving don't happen when you force one of these gears, but when you learn the art of deliberately oscillating between the two. In the next few minutes, we will expose the neuroscience behind these two modes of thought. I will show you why the act of intentionally losing focus is not laziness, but an elite cognitive strategy. And I will give you a simple protocol for you to finally stop fighting against your brain's nature and start using it to its full capacity. Stay with me, because the relief you will feel upon realizing that you are not broken, but just using the wrong instruction manual, will be transformative. Our society glorifies the focus mode. It's the hero of every success story, the CEO who works 16-hour days, the programmer who codes through the night, the student who spends hours in the library without looking up. We have been taught to believe that the path to excellence is paved with uninterrupted concentration. And indeed, the focus mode is incredibly powerful for certain tasks. Neuroscientifically, when you're in focus mode, you're activating a brain network called the task-positive network, or the executive control network. Think of it as a laser beam. It illuminates a very specific and concentrated area of your brain, primarily the prefrontal cortex and the parietal cortex. This mode is analytical, sequential, and logical. It is optimized for execution. When you already know the steps to follow, filling out a spreadsheet, writing code based on clear specifications, following a recipe, the focus mode is your best friend. It uses the knowledge you already possess to perform tasks efficiently. It operates on familiar and well-established neural pathways. But the problem is that a laser, no matter how powerful, has an extremely limited field of view. It can only see what is directly in front of it. When you face a new problem, a creative block, or a situation that requires a different perspective, the focus mode becomes a prison. It keeps treading the same familiar neural paths, trying to solve the new problem with old solutions. This is why you feel stuck, replaying the same frustrated thought over and over. Your brain is literally stuck in a loop, in a very small part of itself. Furthermore, as we've seen in previous videos, the prefrontal cortex, the engine of the focus mode, is a voracious consumer of energy. Keeping that laser on for long periods leads to cognitive fatigue, burnout, and diminished performance. Forcing focus when the brain is asking for a break isn't heroic, it's inefficient. It's like keeping a car's engine at maximum RPM while it's stuck in traffic. You burn fuel, overheat the system, and go nowhere. Productivity culture has sold us the idea that the solution to every problem is a stronger laser. Neuroscience shows us that often the solution is to turn off the laser completely and switch on a different kind of light. While the focus mode is active, another crucial brain network is largely dormant. But the moment you relax, stop concentrating, and let your mind wander, during a walk, in the shower, while washing dishes, this other network awakens. Welcome to the default mode network, or what we'll call the diffuse mode. If the focus mode is a laser, the diffuse mode is a constellation. It's a vast network of brain regions, including the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, and the inferior parietal lobe. Unlike the laser, which connects nearby points linearly, the constellation connects distant stars in surprising patterns. The diffuse mode doesn't work with details and execution, it works with the big picture. It is the subconscious librarian of your mind. While you're relaxed, it wanders through the aisles of your memory, picking up an idea from a book you read 10 years ago, a concept from a documentary you saw last week, and a fragment of a conversation you had yesterday, and asks, is there any connection between all of this? It is in this state that the real magic happens. The diffuse mode is the cradle of creativity, intuition, and aha moments. That solution to a problem that appears out of nowhere while you're running, that creative insight that wakes you up in the middle of the night, that was no accident. That was your diffuse mode working in the background, connecting dots your focus mode could never see. History is filled with examples. Archimedes and his Eureka moment in the bathtub, the chemist Kekule dreaming of a snake biting its own tail and discovering the ring structure of benzene. These are not stories about intense focus, but about the permission for defocus. The problem is that we have been conditioned to see this state as an enemy. Daydreaming is seen as laziness, a wandering mind is seen as an undisciplined mind. And by constantly fighting against the diffuse mode, we are effectively shutting down our insight machine. We are insisting on using a hammer to turn a screw simply because the hammer, the focus mode, is the only tool we've been taught to value. True elite productivity, therefore, is not about maximizing the focus mode. It's about mastering the art of oscillation, the deliberate and strategic swing between focused work and diffuse rest. How can we apply this knowledge in a practical and systematic way? How can we turn this theory into a tool we can use today to solve our most difficult problems? The answer is a system I call the Focused Oscillation Protocol. This is not a time management trick. It is a brain state management protocol. It consists of 4 simple steps. Step 1. Load the problem. The focus preparation. First, you need to give your brain a clear mission. Define the problem you're working on as specifically as possible. Gather all the relevant information, data, and variables. Immerse yourself in the problem. This is the time to use the focus mode. You're essentially loading all the pieces of the puzzle into your working memory. You're telling your brain, this is what we are trying to solve. Step 2, intense focus session, the laser sprint. Now, set a timer for a period of uninterrupted focused work. The Pomodoro technique with its 25 minutes is perfect for this. During this time, your only goal is to give your maximum conscious effort to solve the problem. Use the full power of your laser. Try, fail, try a different approach, struggle with the problem. This step is crucial. You need to reach the point of frustration, the point where you feel like you've hit a wall. This initial effort is what tags the problem as important for your brain and activates the relevant neural networks that the diffuse mode will later access. Step 3. Intentional disengagement, the diffuse activation. When the timer goes off, and here is the most important and counterintuitive step of all, you must step away from the problem completely. This does not mean opening another tab and checking social media. That would just be replacing one type of focus with another. The disengagement needs to be intentional and involve a low cognitive load activity. Get up and take a 5 to 10 minute walk without podcasts. Take a shower, wash the dishes, water the plants, listen to instrumental music. Do anything that allows your mind to wander freely. You need to give your diffuse mode the space and silence to work. You have turned off the laser so that the constellation can light up. Step 4. The sudden capture, the return and notation. After your period of diffuse rest, return to your desk. But don't dive back into the same frustrated effort as before. Instead, grab a piece of paper or open a new document and simply start writing down any idea, no matter how strange it seems, that came to mind. Often, the solution or a new path to explore will present itself to you suddenly during the walk or just as you sit back down. Your job is not to force the solution, but to be ready to capture it when your diffuse mode delivers it. Be prepared for the Eureka moment. By practicing this cycle, focus, frustration, defocus, and capture, you stop treating your brain as an adversary to be conquered and start treating it as a partner in a duet. You dance with its natural rhythms instead of marching against them. The existence and function of the default mode network are not speculation. They have been extensively mapped and studied using neuroimaging technology like functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI. Neuroscientist Marcus Reichel and his team pioneered these discoveries, showing that the brain at rest is in fact incredibly active, consuming nearly the same amount of energy as the brain focused on a task. This active rest is the work of the diffuse mode, and its importance for creativity is well documented. Studies have shown that people with higher creativity tend to have stronger communication between the default mode network and the executive control networks. They are better at oscillating between the two modes. But the most compelling proof may not come from labs, but from history. Countless of humanity's greatest thinkers and creators were intuitive practitioners of the focused oscillation protocol. Charles Darwin developed his theory of evolution during long daily walks on his sand walk. Albert Einstein claimed to have his best insights while playing the violin or sailing, activities that disengaged him from focused mathematical work. They understood instinctively that the wandering mind is not a bug in the system. It is an essential feature. We have reached the end of our journey, and the truth is this: you have been taught to use only half of your mind. The guilt you feel when you get distracted, the frustration you experience when you hit a creative wall, all of it stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of how your mind was designed to work. You've been trying to win a race using only one leg. The focus mode and the diffuse mode are not enemies, they are partners. The focus is the worker who executes the plan. The diffuse is the architect who draws the blueprint. One without the other is incomplete. Real, sustainable productivity isn't about working longer hours or concentrating harder. It's about working smarter, aligning your actions with your brain's neurobiology. It's about having the courage to step away, the wisdom to rest, and the readiness to capture insight when it arises. This is the relief. You don't need more discipline to suppress your distractions. You need a strategy to utilize them. And here is my challenge to you. The next time you find yourself stuck on a problem, frustrated and exhausted from concentrating, I want you to run one cycle of the focused oscillation protocol. Just one. Set a timer for 10 more minutes of intense focus. Then, when it rings, step away for 10 minutes. Walk, listen to a song, Do anything but think about the problem. Then, come back and see what happens. After you conduct your personal experiment, return to this video. Go to the comments section and share one thing. What was the diffuse mode activity you chose? And did any new thought or perspective emerge? By sharing your experience, you not only reinforce your own learning, but also contribute to a library of strategies that can help our entire community unlock their creative potential. Stop fighting, start oscillating.